All right, guys, welcome into week 3 waiver wire. It's just me, and I'm dealing with this awesome guy over here, Nii Wallace-Bruce. If you could, please introduce yourself, Nii, to all the new listeners.
Hey, thanks.
Everybody who's coming in.
Thanks, Jason. It's a pleasure to be on. I am part of the Important Nonsense team like yourself, and you can find me writing about all things defensive football over at importantnonsense.com. You can also, if you are a Patreon, if you go to patreon.com/importantnonsense, we have a Discord which you can be a part of, and you can ask whatever IDP questions that you want, and I'll probably answer them. So I'm the guy for all things defense. But today, Jason, we're going to be talking waivers. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like Nii has said, he's probably one of the best IDP guys that I know. He does a great job with all the work that he's doing at Important Nonsense. But we are talking waivers. A lot of injuries have happened. I mean, it's a big one for sure. But Trey Lance going down, you're probably, if you're like me, I had him ranked extremely high this year. And so you're probably looking for a quarterback in that area. Who do you have first? I'll let you give your option first, and I'll go from there. Uh-oh, losing Nii. All right. I guess I'll go. I'll start with my quarterback.
I'm a 49ers fan, so yeah.
You're good. Go.
Yeah, so if I need a quarterback and I'm in a shallow league, I would see if Derek Carr's out there, but I know that some of you play in deep leagues, so
or Superflex.
If Carr's gone, yeah, Superflex as well. I'd like to see if Kirk Cousins is available. If I can get him before 8:30 tonight and stash him for next week, that's the move. Failing that, I would also look at Baker Mayfield. That's another name. But it is slim pickings out there. So who would you look at, Jason?
So I look at ESPN leagues, and one of the ones that I'm kind of terrified to play, I want to see how the Vikings play tonight because their defense looked pretty good in week 1. But Jared Goff is currently the 7th best quarterback in fantasy. Granted, there are 4 quarterbacks to play tonight, but that is something to kind of take into account. That means even after tonight, he could still be the 11th best. And granted, it is the Vikings who really do look sharp on defense. Is that something I should be worrying about, Nii, like the defense for the Vikings, or is this just a false front that we've kind of seen so far?
So the tonight is prime time. So we are a little bit worried about how Kirk Cousins is going to perform because we all know that when the lights come on, he goes and disappears and forgets how to play football. But the Vikings defense without Mike Zimmer, I think they still got the sauce. They still got the players. They got guys like Harrison Smith. They got Daniil Hunter who can come off the edge and disrupt. They're going to get an interception or 2 tonight off Jalen Hurts. They're going to cause him problems. They may not win the game, but I still like the Vikings defense. The variable will be Kirk Cousins. So stash him tonight, and if he doesn't perform, you can drop him tomorrow.
All right. The next 2 are a lot easier for me because I actually really like Marcus Mariota. He's one of my favorite picks. He's only 9.3% rostered in ESPN leagues right now. His rushing floor in week 1 really set him apart. And granted, it is the Seahawks that they're playing, who looked good week 1, but I don't know if that was just because Russell wasn't ready or that whole offensive defense weren't ready for the Seahawks to come in. But I think Marcus Mariota against the Seahawks looked great. And the fact that you just saw what Trey Lance and Jimmy G did to him. They put up a combined 19.1 fantasy points.
Right.
I think that's going to be very applicable. And I think Mariota is a safe bet for you guys this week. And I mean, if you're in a really deep league, I hate to say it, but currently the 8th best quarterback, really old name, Joe Flacco, has been surprising everybody and gets the Bengals next week. So
elite.
Yeah, he has some passing options. I mean, granted, I think Wilson really helped him out a lot last week, but it is definitely somebody you want to be looking at if you're in one of those deep leagues or you're looking for a super flex, hopefully plug and play. He's probably picked up already, but after that week 1, he's still set to play even next week. So we'll move into running backs. Who do you have as your running backs to look at here, Nii?
Well, Jason, running back. We talked about this in the green room beforehand. It is a little bit thin. I mean, it's week 2. thankfully, we haven't any big injuries. Touch wood. I know it's going to happen because, as Dr. Edwin Porras tells us, injuries happen. It's just part of the game. So it's not a matter of if, but when. But right now, no one really stands out in terms of the next man up at the running back position. So at this point, it's really just taking opportunities with guys who have the potential if someone goes down. So maybe take another look at Kenyon Drake potentially. I know it's a little bit murky with J.K. Dobbins' situation out there, but Kenyon Drake is 22.9% rostered in ESPN leagues. I mean, Mark Ingram, I probably would steer away from him because the Taysom Hill factor just doesn't, it's a worry for me. But Benjamin, it's another name I'd like to look at. He gets a lot of catches out there in Arizona. He's only 4% rostered in leagues on ESPN. Jason, who are you looking at?
I definitely agree with the Benjamin take, but I'm actually going to say that the guy, if Connor is out, which it doesn't really look like it, but he was sidelined this week, is Darrell Williams. He had a lot of the important touches. He got a lot of the red zone work, 2-minute drill, all that stuff really seemed to be Darrell Williams, which is surprising because Eno's been there longer, but Williams is that more veteran back. So based on that, that's who I'd be looking at. And then your other option, 13.6% rostered, Jerick McKinnon. I hate the matchup because it's the Colts, but they actually looked really bad this week. And I don't know if that's just because they had no passing options or no offense to kind of help spread that out, or if they should have focused more on running the football. But that's more of a difficult play because he is also splitting with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who has been putting up great numbers. But if he goes down, I think that McKinnon has a lot of good work coming his way.
Now, speaking of going down, there is one name I want to throw at you because I talked about injuries at the start. Brian Robinson, right? If you have an IR slot in your league and he's still available, get him now, put him in the IR slot and go get someone else because that's the move. You make your IR slot work for you in fantasy. He's due to come back in week 5 from his unfortunate injury that he suffered in the preseason off the field, but he's looking good. Looks like he's taking the ball and running with it in training, and he should be good to go week 5, and he'll have a role next to Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we should kind of throw this out there as well because they're playing tonight. But if you have somebody that you can drop to pick up like Madison or Gainwell or any of those players, that'd kind of be a good move as well, just because they are playing tonight and could get you ahead of the curve if, say, one of the running backs in front of them do go down.
That's right. Check your roster.
Oh, shoot. Davis Price. I saw he also has a high ankle sprain. So maybe looking at Jordan Mason as another potential option would be another way to kind of go. But we'll stop with the running back, get through all that nonsense, and we'll move on to wide receiver. I got to know, Nii, who are you liking? I mean, even tonight you have some available, right, that you could probably throw in and at least see what they do?
Yeah, I mean, the game just started, but I like Kyle Phillips if you're in a deeper league. We'll see how he goes against the Bills. That's a game definitely worth watching. But as we're blessed with 2 games on Monday night this weekend, we got Philadelphia, Minnesota in the late game, 8:30 Eastern time. For those of you who are watching on ESPN and or ABC, 1 to 2. But there's players, there's guys who can make a difference. And who would you stash from that late game, Jason?
Yeah, that's just so tough. For wide receivers, golly, maybe Osborne.
Yeah,
that's just outside of that, it's. I guess I'm curious if Smith is even owned. I think a lot of people might have overreacted and dumped him. That would be probably somebody else because week 1 he was on the field a lot. I mean, he was the second wide receiver on the field. Brown got a lot of the work, but he was out there, and so that would probably be the best way to kind of look at that. But again, I really just think that's how it's going to end up working out. It's just that Osborne's probably going to be of those options for tonight. Those would be the late game grabs that you could kind of look at.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we have a question in our chat. Thank you for joining the chat, Mr. Gonzalez or M. Gonzalez, Mr. Romas. Hello to you, Gonzalez.
Okay, which RB to target? Mostert, Darrell Williams, or Jordan Mason? All kind of names that are available. I'm surprised that Mostert's available. but I think that's where I go.
Yeah, for me, it's Mostert. I mean, I know Chase Edmonds could get more touches down the line, but Mostert looked good. And I'm not biased. I know I'm wearing a 49ers jersey, but he looked good yesterday.
Former running back for your team. Yeah, he looked good. But again, you say that, but Edmonds had a better yards per carry. So, I mean, I'm very confused.
I hope we don't have something like a. Yeah, it does remind me of Belichick in New England. I hope it's not like a, McDaniel shenanigans. It's like, I'm gonna have to come up with a nickname for that. But yeah, hopefully Miami smooths out a little bit and makes it easier for us fantasy managers.
Yeah, and so we're talking about the wide receivers that you're kind of looking to pick up. I think both of us agree that for Gonzalez, it is going to be Mostert that you're looking at. He's just not available in a whole lot of leagues. At least on ESPN, I saw that he was over the 50% threshold, so I didn't really mention him. But of those options, I agree with Nii here. It's definitely going to be Mostert for us. But we are talking about wide receivers that are available, and it's a tough sled. I mean, my favorite guy who continues to be under-rostered but continues to see a lot of targets is Sterling Shepard. He is, 10.2% rostered that in ESPN. So if you're in any PPR league, it's not pretty. You don't love it, but he's going to put up easily 8 points every game. I mean, he's going to see enough targets to be valuable. And so that's kind of where I'm looking. Outside of that, maybe okay. I have to ask because I'm a Corey Davis guy. What Jets wide receiver do you like the most? I mean,
it's Elijah Moore, and it's not even close.
But he's so inconsistent right now. I mean,
yeah,
saw what Wilson did.
Corey Davis is Corey Davis at this point in his career. We know what we're getting with Corey Davis. Elijah Moore has a ceiling. The Jets is, like you said, they have Flacco. They're getting better. They're showing some mettle. They're staying in games. They got that Robert Saleh speech going on. Like he's driving those guys to win. Elijah Moore's going to benefit from that.
Yeah, I mean, they really did spread it around. It just luckily Davis got into the end zone, right? And I guess Wilson did too. He ended up with a really big day, but yeah, it's just one of those things. It's if he's available, I guess you could be looking. I mean, maybe it's a team that's not paying close enough attention or overreacted, and so Wilson could be available.
There we go. I mean, wide receivers a lot more. There's a lot more talent on offer on waivers compared to running back. I mean, Carl Phillips is a guy who could. We'll see how it goes tonight. Isaiah McKenzie is another name we'll look at tonight and see how they go in the Monday night games. But even outside of that, there were some guys who really took the ball.
Nice work.
There we go. Steve Bonham. Yes. Steve Bonham agrees with me. Corey Davis is Corey Davis, and he'll probably be Corey Davis.
But he's a veteran wide receiver. That's the only reason I really like him. And the fact that this just offense, no matter what, is looking like they're going to have to throw and keep up. So, I mean, that's definitely interesting. I guess kind of shifting gears. Are you interested in any New England wide receivers?
If it's not Jacoby Myers, I don't want it.
I don't know, man. I'm really tempted by Nelson Aguilar. He's very widely available, clearly, because nobody expected him to do anything. Myers is still clearly the number one target, but Aguilar somehow shows up randomly. So it might be somebody you look at to stash if you're really hurting. But again, probably not. And if he is available, clearly go with Jacoby Myers. I definitely agree there.
If I'm really hurting, Jason, I gotta contend with this one. If I'm really hurting, I'm going out and getting Ashton Dulin. I'm going out and getting Greg Dortch. I'll probably see what's going on with someone like Ben Skowronek.
Yeah, I agree with Dortch, but he has a tough matchup next week. That's the only thing that kind of has.
I'll check in on Josh Palmer, and then I'll look at Corey Davis.
That's fair. I have Greg Dortch on my list as well, but again, I hate the matchup for him next week. It's definitely gonna be tough for them, and so we'll move in from here.
Hey, Jason.
Uh-oh.
Call of Duty came out over the weekend, so
yeah,
Carla may not have read the
issue.
playbook as much. maybe he'll have to rely on Dortch. Maybe he doesn't throw to his regular personnel as a result.
I'm really surprised they didn't keep that part of his contract in where he had to go and watch tape. I think he's really missing out on that. You think by this point they had some VR that would be able to help him out, right?
Right. There we go.
If you make it into a video game, he'll be all over it. Kyler Murray will love those targets. But
absolutely.
Well, we'll move into tight end. My guy from last week clearly went off in Gerald Everett again with Paramount. I think that opportunity is still there. And the other guy that I mentioned last week, which was just kind of a surprise and continuing to see targets. But again, we're going back to the Jets here, and it's Tyler Conklin. I mean, he's seeing targets. I don't know what else to tell you. That's one thing that we look for in a tight end.
Yep. Tyler Conklin. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of the Gerald Everett pick. I also got to consider Logan Thomas. I know the Commanders are good. They're not great, but hey, Thomas is getting his targets. He's falling into the end zone. I also like Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst is being slept on a little bit, and at 23.3% in ESPN, I think that's a steal for a pretty potent offense.
Yeah, I'm really surprised at how much they are struggling on offense, but we got a question from Bill asking, let's see, have a Baker as my super flex with Lamar. I mean, Lamar's definitely helping you. Dak on the bench. Do I grab Garoppolo? I mean, I think so. I think that's a great workout for you. I
would. Okay, you're fine. Bill, 49ers fan, right?
Yeah.
If your league rewards handoffs to running backs, fine. But otherwise, let's see what else you got in the league before you hit that button. Because that number one waiver priority doesn't come around often. We want to make good choices, right? We don't want you in trouble in a couple of weeks.
Well, I guess I'm more curious about. I mean, I like it because I think he's a good replacement for Dak. I think that he is an accurate quarterback. It's just the fact that they keep using Debo in the backfield, it's just terrifying. I mean, with a decent running game and Debo coming through the back, it hurts his value. If you get points for accuracy, Jimmy G might be a solid play for you.
Now, on the contrary, George Kittle's coming back. George Kittle makes Jimmy G a better player. And Steve just asked the question, is Jimmy G a better superflex than Baker? Baker has some legs, right? Baker can extend the drive a little bit with his running. I would take Baker at this stage, considering that Jimmy has had, at the start of preseason, he may not have George Kittle this week. I'm not sure Jimmy G is better than Baker as a superflex, personally.
For the season, Baker probably has more opportunity. This upcoming week, if you're a streaming quarterback guy like me, I'm going to take Jimmy G. Panthers get the Saints, who just completely destroyed good old Brady again. But granted, that is his total kryptonite when it comes to playing that. Oh, that's a weekly question.
Yeah, no. Steve is asking. Steve makes a very good point. If you're using a number one priority, it has to make your team better. Don't make moves for the sake of making moves. Does this make my team better? Right? You play to win the game.
Yeah, I wish I could trust Baker more. Is my deal. At this point, I think he's still learning that offense. Granted, I do think long term, Baker's probably your better play, but it is super flex. He's already holding. I mean, if you're dropping Dak to pick up Jimmy, I guess the real question is, how long do you think Dak's actually out for? I'm assuming the 6 weeks is a minimum, but
I'd love to hear from Edwin Porras on this, but I feel like Dak is. I'm not a doctor, by the way. Disclaimer: not a medical professional. Yada yada yada. Thank you. Now we go past that. I think the Cowboys are going to try and force him back sooner than what he should be out for. This could be another Russ situation where, like, the doctor says you should come back in this date, maybe for argument's sake, 8 weeks, and then Jerry Jones gets on the phone and say you're playing in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's really dangerous, and so I'm just. I hate the fact that when you have to even think about holding him. But if you have an IR, I mean that's the way to play. If you have IR spots, get a bunch of people who are broken right now and stash them there if possible.
Hey, Bill, you play IDP. Yes.
This is your guy, Bill. When it comes to IDP, hit up Nii Wallace-Bruce. That is his specialty for sure. If you miss the open, that is definitely an area that when I have questions to come through in fantasy life, he's a guy that I go to. He knows all the answers, and so I go with him 100%, and he does a great job.
And we got some good content coming out this week, so definitely check out our website, importantnonsense.com. Jason, I got a quick question on quarterback because you got me thinking now.
Uh-oh.
What about Nick Foles? Because they're going to be thinking about taking Matt Ryan out at some point.
I mean, do you think it's more for preservation, or do you think it's just because of the play? I mean, I think Ryan is definitely a better quarterback, but I think last week not having Pittman on the field made it a lot more difficult. I mean, and the fact that they weren't able to run the ball or give enough volume to Taylor to have that option as run first offense, that was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, they were not good. They were not. They were terrible.
It was definitely a rough go, but we're going into your area of expertise to kind of finally get this show wrapped up, get it out of the way. We're looking at defenses. I got to know, who are you looking at?
Now, last week I picked the Bengals and thought, yes, this is going to be a great move.
I think everybody did, to be fair. I think everybody did think that was going to be a great move based on what they saw week 1.
So yeah, look, we're gonna pick on some teams. We're gonna find some bad. That's how we're gonna, in the early part of the season, we're just gonna pick on the teams that are struggling, and that's how we're gonna get through it. So let's take a quick look. Week 3, I don't know if we can. Let me ask you this: can we pick on a team like Cleveland anymore? Can we pick on Jacoby Brissett?
I'm going to say no, just because you saw how dominant Chubb is. Like, if you're anywhere near the end zone, he's going to be able to push it in. And they still have a lot of other options. Cooper looked really good. That connection kind of seemed to iron itself out, and a lot of people were looking at DPJ. But the Colts are playing the Chiefs this week. So that's...
I mean, yeah, the Chiefs are a good play. That's for sure.
If Pittman's out, I mean, I think that's a big difference maker too. If Pittman is still sidelined, I think that could be a good option. What do you think about the Chargers?
The Bolts.
Going up against the Jags.
I'm not so sure after this week. I don't know. I know it's at home, but the Chargers, they just find ways to concede lots of points. I'm just
killing me.
I know Bosa's a great defender, and you got Dylan James, doing his thing at safety, but I'm worried about, can they slow down the opposition offense? The big plays will be there, but can they not concede the 25 points or whatever it is that they seem to be okay with letting in?
Yeah, I get that. You said you kind of want to pick on people.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Falcons against Seattle is one. That's one that I'd look at. I would probably consider the Giants against Dallas. I'm still not convinced about Cooper Rush, but we'll see.
What about Texans versus the Bears?
I would. Yep, the Bears.
That's somebody I'm looking at. That's why I was like, that'd be a good one to kind of pick on.
The Bears are now who we thought they were. Because if it was last week, I'll be wearing a paper bag. Because the 49ers should not have lost to the Bears, but...
What do you think about Carson Wentz? Is he QB2 through 2 weeks and only 54% rostered on Sleeper? Steve, this isn't fair to me because I like Wentz. I was promoting him the past 2 weeks because I thought he does have all those weapons, and it's hard not to kind of give it up for him. But, I mean, I'm okay playing him. I like him as an option, but if he's available, I definitely think he shouldn't be for at least your opposition.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's someone you can definitely look at in super flex for sure. And if you're in a deep league, like, your 14 to 16 teams, definitely go out and get him if you're in a QB1 format. But for me, personally, I'd rather get the guys that he throws to. So I'm looking at Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson. Those are the guys I would want from Washington.
Man, you're just hating on my boy here. No Jahan Dotson love here? Come on now.
Dotson's all right, but I don't know, man.
You're killing me.
Yeah, so Steve brings up a good point. He got 30 points and against Jacksonville, 29 points against Detroit. He gets a division rival this week. So let's see. This because when it happens once, it's a one-off. Twice, it's a coincidence. 3 times, it's a trend. If he does against Philadelphia, I'm sold. How about that?
I think it'll also depend on how good Philadelphia looks tonight. I mean, that's kind of why I'm more curious. I'm curious to see what defenses are real and what aren't. That's part of the reason I brought up the Texans. I mean, the Texans have looked pretty good in their 2 weeks. Granted, It's not massive, but yeah, it is a
revenge narrative against Philadelphia for sure.
And I have Hurst as my QB1. I don't know what to tell you. I can't move him up any higher. The dude rushes so much. He's my QB1. What else can I do? But yeah, I mean, either way, you're gonna have to throw. So Wentz is gonna have to throw.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll give you, I guess, one more widely available. Granted, I think Texas is the bottom of the barrel because I do think they looked decent and have been playing well together. But Raiders versus Titans.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Titans go tonight. But the Raiders, Max Crosby, he got his big contract and he's showing why. He's getting pressure like nobody else in the league at his position or in general. And he's got the rest of the defense like moving with him now. Because last season was pretty much just Max Crosby. Now it's like Max Crosby plus the Raiders defense. And they're getting after guys. So they went out to Kyler Murray yesterday, and they should have no trouble going out to Tannehill next week. No trouble.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of why I'm putting him out there. I mean, you saw what they did in the first half of the game. It didn't end like they wanted to, but if they can sustain that against a Titans team, it could work out. Granted, I was also feeling very happy about my pick on Miami, and then they did the same thing. It was just a very weird week of teams coming back in the second half.
Right.
So, not my area of expertise, but I have to know for people who do play IDP, since you are here, are there any waiver wire pickups that you would kind of suggest for IDP players?
Honestly, that's a question on notice. I would say definitely check out my article coming out in the next 24 hours. You'll have some answers there. But there were some standout performances in week 2 that, I mean, Josh Allen from the other Josh Allen from the Jaguars, the defensive
the one not
end,
playing tonight, yeah.
The one that played yesterday. He's one that's playing lights out at the moment. If you need someone who's on the edge, I'll look at him. Willie Gay seems to be playing a regular role for Kansas City, which is pretty rare because they don't really play like they don't really have a full-time linebacker. But Willie Gay seems to be the guy that's getting the snaps in the middle there. I would also consider Marcus Williams at safety if he needed some help in the defensive back position. Finally, let's consider, because we know we love linebackers, Miles Jack from Pittsburgh. I think he's really taken over that role in the middle there, and he's someone that scoops up the tackles. We know that TJ Watt's out. He's being asked to do more, not just running stuff in the run, but also helping out with the pass rush. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and so I think that has answered everybody's questions. Hopefully, we will see you guys back on Thursday. Thank you so much for joining me, Nii. It was a real pleasure to have you. I mean, having your knowledge when it comes to IDP is massive, and of course, just enjoy all of your articles and stuff that you put out. But do you have anything that you kind of want to plug besides your article that's coming out soon? You have anything else going on?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on, Jason, and hopefully we can do it again. It was good fun to talk ball with you as always and get some good insights into next week's waivers, get ahead of the game. You can find me on Instagram at TheRealNWB. Find my articles at importantnotice.com. And yeah, you can also find my other podcast on Twitter, Peak Podcasters. It's the Pro Sports Podcasters. So we're always got some interesting interviews going on there. But otherwise, Yeah, is there anything you wanted to share, Jason?
I mean, I've just been having a blast getting to do these, and so it's kind of a new way of doing it. Clearly, I had my short little show, but being able to get people in and kind of help them out this way has been a real fun experience so far. So hopefully we can just keep having more and more people come in and do this. Clearly, the show we have on Thursdays, and then I'm doing my Twitter Spaces on Sunday mornings to kind of help offset the massive influx of questions that we have on Sunday mornings, because things change at such a quick pace Sunday. It's crazy how they just decide to wait to give you information. So,
yep.
But outside of that, we're going to wrap this up. And thank you so much for coming on. And I hope to see you all next week for our Week 4 Waiver Wire show.